beautiful morning out here today. Really, really pretty. So as I go through the Matthew, where Jesus was talking to the disciples, it breaks at a point and it goes to the plot to kill Jesus. And there's something that happens, we've talked about that for 2 days now, the religious figures plotting to kill Jesus. But there's something that that takes place immediately after that. So we're just going to pick it up where we left off. Matthew 26, starting verse 6. And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil, and she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. But when his disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, "To what purpose is this waste? For this fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor." But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Surely I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her." There's really a lot going on in that verse, or those verses, because it's such a beautiful thing that she did there. When I first read that, I really didn't understand necessarily the depth of what was taking place, but understanding the place that this happened, like in time, she is literally anointing him for his burial. Somehow she knows it. The Spirit told her to. Somehow she knew that this needed to be done in this moment in time. Maybe she overheard somebody talking about what he said about, this Passover and that he'll be crucified. Like, I don't know why she did it, but she did it. And she was obedient to it. And the disciples didn't even understand it. Like, he literally just shared all that with them. Everything that we've been talking about since we've been on the water, he just shared with them. And they still didn't get it. I want to point out something real quick. I was about to go on a side note here, but I'm not going to. I'll go back to what I was thinking there. But in John 12, there's a different account of what's taking place here that I think is very important that we talk about. John 12, starting verse 1. Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus, whom had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead. There they made him supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil, a spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with fragrance of the oil. Then one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, who would betray him, said, "Why was this fragrant oil not sold for 300 denarius and given to the poor?" This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief and had the money box, and he used to take what was put in it. And Jesus said, "Let her alone. She has kept this for the day of my burial. For the poor you have with you always, but me you do not have always." John's got a very different take on this story, because he's got the personal names of who's involved. Of course, Judas is involved in this. It shows his heart. It truly, truly shows his heart. And in this moment, preparing for his burial, he's psychologically preparing. He's preparing through prayer. He's preparing through. And she just knows it. She anoints him with oil, very fragrant oil, to prepare him for his burial. I think oftentimes too, because I'm sure you've heard me preach, feed the poor a million times on this channel. And I'm sure they heard Jesus say it a lot. He was just talking about it literally. Obviously, that wasn't what was on Judas's heart. He didn't, they showed his heart there in the Word. His hope was for a revolution. Why do you want to feed the hungry? It's kind of the key here. But what Jesus said is that, obviously that fragrant oil would have fed a lot of people. 300 denarius. But that moment in time, the hungry will always be here. This moment in time, that moment in time, prophecy coming true to reality. Mankind being saved. That prophecy was playing out right in front of their eyes, and something had to shift. Jesus knew that it was time to focus on what was in front of him. The task at hand. The teaching was over. There was a new mission to be focused on at that point. And I think as Christians, we got to be cautious of that. Really, really cautious of that, on what it is we're supposed to be doing. Because every now and then Jesus says something that kind of makes you think, well, I thought I was doing the right thing, but maybe I wasn't. To honor our parents, but then we're supposed to just drop them, to pick up our cross and follow him. We're supposed to focus on the poor and hungry, but at that moment, it's different. It's really just listening to that spirit, because I'm sure they thought, oh, well, we're doing the right thing by thinking it should go to poor people, But he's like, no, it's something different now. Something different's happening. It's a new season. It's a new season. Their mission has not changed. His mission, his mission has changed. So they're kind of focused on what they need to do, and he's focused on what he needs to do. And he's just showing them, I'm going a different way. Like, I'm going a different way from you now. Might have been tough to hear that too, because you're caught up in all that you're caught up in, and we're all caught up in everything we're caught up in. And to hear Jesus say that the seasons are changing and you have to pay heed to the Spirit and listen and focus on what's at hand, the task at hand. It's tough to do. I think people too get so focused on their missions that they're not willing to change gears, to shift directions. Or they get so caught up on their ministries that they're not willing to change or directions or shift or do anything different. People don't like to hold something different. People don't like to do something different. Something I noticed when I was a high school teacher in the inner city is that when I first started at Northeast High School in Kansas City, everybody said it was pretty crazy there. And I started in the winter because I was replacing a teacher who quit in the middle of the year. Probably should have told me something. But it was really calm. I worked there from January when Christmas break was over. I was the new teacher. But then around April, we started doing standardized testing. And we made everybody go to different classes, different hours, different places in the building. And then it got really violent. 5 to 10 fights every day. And I realized in that moment that people don't like change. People get maybe violent. ask them to change. And adults, they don't like change either. It's not just kids, it's adults too. Adults just restrain themselves a little more than kids do. But they want to do all that stuff. They want to get violent. A lot of them. You see it on the road and stuff. They want to get violent. Probably because things are changing. It's driving people crazy. It's a new season. That lady knew that it was a new season. It was time to focus on his burial. And I think we need to focus on the new season and get ready for his return. In a similar way that lady did, I think it's just time for people need to know that change is coming. And we need to be more mission focused on that change. Not like Judas, just, well, I want what I want. If you don't give it to me, I'm going to betray you. Hope these videos are helping, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful morning. I'll play a little B-roll of kind of the sun that I filmed a little bit right as I pulled out here. And just such a beautiful place to be with God. So beautiful. So thankful for him. Any thoughts or comments, put it in the comments below. Like the video, click like and subscribe. Definitely don't hesitate to put in those prayer requests either. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.